Good afternoon, viewers. I hope you're fine wherever you are. Today, we'll talk about something about our two presidential candidates. That is William Samoei Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga. What are your fears about the presidency of William Samoei Ruto? And what are your fears about the presidency of Raila Amolo Odinga? We are going to be objective and we are going to actually look at the genuine fears people in each camp have about one or the other presidential candidate. If you are watching this program for the first time, kindly subscribe to our channel so that you will be able to be a member and you'll form our community in this particular channel to Talk to Africa. If you like our videos or this video, kindly don't forget to push like and then hit the notification bell so that when we produce these programs, YouTube will automatically notify you of a pending program. If we address the fears, then we'll be able to unpack these presidential candidates so that we are more objective in our analysis and our view and understanding of these presidential candidates. By the way, I've started by talking about, or I'll start by talking about the fears people have of William Samoei Ruto presidency. After that, in my next part, I'll talk about the fears people have about Raila Amolo Odinga's presidency. And then I'll talk about what people like about Raila Amolo Odinga and what people like about William Samoei Ruto. But today we are addressing the fears of William Samoei Ruto. Welcome back, viewer, to our channel. Today we want to look at William Samoei Ruto. How has William Samoei Ruto packed himself and how is he selling himself out there that makes him have people who basically fear his presidency when he gets to power, or if he is elected President of the Republic of Kenya? William Samoei Ruto needs to work on those fears so that he can level out, especially not with those people who know him, but those people who do not actually know him. Because at the moment, the majority of people have formed an opinion about William Samoei Ruto and about what will happen to them when William Samoei Ruto ascends to be the president, the next president or the fifth president of the Republic of Kenya. So, number one, I talked to friends of mine, and I was trying to understand, especially friends from the western part of Kenya, especially Nyanza, let's say Kisumu. You know, the fear number one that these people have about William Samoei Ruto is that he is a violent person. They fear that violence because they fear that that violence can be used against them and can cause war, especially to the bordering communities. Like, as you know, there's the boundary between Kericho and Kisumu. Those are Kalenjins and Luos living in there. Time and again, we've had issues of violence in those particular areas, and that is a cause for fear. And I think Ruto has not been able to address those issues properly. And talking of people from Nyanza and Kisumu, Ruto needs to do more visits to Kisumu so that he basically is able, even if he's not selling himself in this particular election, at least he will convince a certain number of people, a critical number of people to be behind his candidature. You see, so that visit in those areas, especially those areas where William Samoei Ruto is feared, because today we are addressing fears, will be so important to address that issue. So one, as I've said, there is the issue of violence between communities, especially the communities living close to each other, those ones of Rift Valley and Nyanza. So that is one fundamental fear that a lot of people, especially those in the Luo nation, have. The other fear that people have about William Samoei Ruto is basically the issue that has been going round on his corruption record. That is a fear. There are those people who fear that corruption will be worse than it is already. There's no doubt, for any Kenyan knows very well that corruption is a big thing. It's an industry in Kenya. And William Samoei Ruto is perceived, I didn't say he is perceived to be corrupt. And that is a fear that William Samoei Ruto needs to address, especially when it comes to issues of his own personal wealth. He needs to do more than what he did before in terms of explaining his personal wealth, because that fear has been used against him by the opposition, rather the people opposing William Samoei Ruto's candidature. You see, so the fear for further corruption, I have in mind people who fear that the primary schools will actually be stolen away or grabbed. People who fear that William Samoei Ruto has had cases in court regarding land issues. People who fear that William Samoei Ruto will be involved in some form of corruption or the other. That is a fear that actually is driving away voters from William Samoei Ruto. Then that does not necessarily mean those voters are going to go to this competition. But that's driving away voters because of that fear of corruption. There's another fear yet. They say that people are judged by the company they keep. William Samoei Ruto has surrounded himself with certain people who basically are not doing him a lot of favor in terms of the way they address issues. And they display that anger and display, and I'm not going to talk about William Samoei Ruto, who also, by the way, displays a lot of anger and anxiety, like Rigathi Gachagua. If you ask any ordinary Kenyan in the western part of Kenya, particularly Nyanza, they will tell you that they fear Rigathi Gachagua has an issue with a particular community in western Kenya. So William Samoei Ruto has surrounded himself with the Rigathi Gachaguas, who basically also are not going out to those areas where they are perceived to be unpopular or they are thought to be unpopular, to try and address people of those specific regions. It's very important for that to happen. So you have Alice Wahome, you have Rigathi Gachagua, you have Ndindi Nyoro, and you know the rest. I don't need to name them one by one. So the surrounding people, the people who surround themselves with William Samoei Ruto, actually, or project, that's the right word, a narrative about William Samoei Ruto. Yes, so other than the company that William Samoei Ruto keeps, the other fear is the issue of discrimination, tribal discrimination, and development. I'll sell that one as one fear. Those people who fear William Samoei Ruto actually fear that he has tribalism, especially to a particular community, and I've been talking about a particular community in the western region. Because with that tribalism goes development. So William Samoei Ruto is perceived to be against a particular tribe. When you talk about watu wa Kungoa Reli, when you talk about watu wa kutupa mawe, when you talk about, you actually send certain bad signals. So that is a fear. And that tribal kind of fear that there will be tribalism goes along with the development that William Samoei Ruto can do. William Samoei Ruto needs to get out and specifically show those communities what projects he has. William Samoei Ruto has done the same. has done more or less the same, in fact, much more than I'm saying in Mount Kenya. And Mount Kenya people, or then at least then, even if he was using the programs of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta or their joint programs, he has actually been able to prove to Mount Kenya people that he's going to develop Mount Kenya. And that is a selling point. Similarly, William Samoei Ruto needs to come out clearly and go to those areas where he is perceived to be tribal to actually address that issue, especially how it relates to development. He has to be specific, like give credit where it's due. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has been able to prove to the Western communities, especially the Luo Nyanza, that he is interested in developing Kisumu and the Luo and Western region. He's gone out of his way. Actually, he's gone out and actually tried to even revive the railway line. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta went to China along with Raila Amolo Odinga. And by the way, I'll be talking about exact same things about Raila Amolo Odinga. Raila Amolo Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta went to China and they were denied a loan, which was basically going to extend the SGR from Mombasa to Busia. So Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has proven that he is out to do more for the people, not only of the entire Kenya, as I credit him with, but also for the people who perceived him initially to be a problem. William Samoei Ruto has not been able to address the issue of development in regions where he is not supported. As you know, William Samoei Ruto has camped or had camped since 2014 in Mount Kenya area, and he concentrated there and forgot the rest of Kenya, be it coast region, be it northeastern, be it western, in terms of development and in terms of addressing the tribal issue. William Samoei Ruto has to come out clearly and address that issue. If you look at what is used against William Samoei Ruto are his appointments, for instance. When somebody was reading, the one particular community was appointed in the Nusumkati arrangement between William Samoei Ruto and the Jubilee government. You see, so that is a major thing that William Samoei Ruto has no choice but to address that. Why am I talking about this? The critical number will come either to William Samoei Ruto or to Raila Amolo Odinga, whom I'm going to talk about in the same way, based on the way William Samoei Ruto, because I'm talking about William Samoei Ruto, addresses that. The other fear that people have about William Samoei Ruto is the push. It's the fight that he has had tooth and nail to become the president of the Republic of Kenya. There's nothing wrong with working hard. There's nothing absolutely wrong with working hard. But even the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, mentioned this, that over-ambition, where you are pushing too hard to the extent that you are offending people or actually stepping on people's toes. That is a fear. Why does he want to become the president tooth and nail? Why does the world have to stop so that William Samoei Ruto becomes president? And you can even see yesterday and the other days when he went to the US, William Samoei Ruto pushed too hard. He really need not have talked about our electoral system to those people there and what have you, and criticizing basically his own government. That urge and for presidency is something that William Samoei Ruto, especially to the elite, William Samoei Ruto needs to address, so that, people level out with him in terms of his own ambition, in terms of his own ambition. Yeah, that is something that William Samoei Ruto needs to look at. Okay? We are still addressing fear. People fear William Samoei Ruto's candidature and eventual presidency because of the experience of Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. And let's face it, In Kenya, we talk tribes. That is the currency around here. So people fear that William Samoei Ruto will just be yet another Daniel Arap Moi presidency. That is a big fear. William Samoei Ruto needs to get out and address that fear, that he's not going to be a dictatorship. He hasn't been able to address it well, by the way. He hasn't been able in his rallies and in his interviews to address the issue of fear in as far as a repeat Daniel Toroitich Moi, is going to be. William Samoei Ruto needs to address that issue of the fact that, or the matter that is not going to be another Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, and do those things. Okay, so that is a major area that William Samoei Ruto's campaign, and actually William Samoei Ruto himself, there are things that he has to do himself. He has to address that fear. Then lastly now, William Samoei Ruto is feared because of the control that the majority of people in, say, the security arm. Is a fact that in KDF or in the security forces, a lot of people come from William Samoei Ruto's community. And there's that fear that he would likely misuse that organ or those organs. And in actually to advance what I talked about in terms of the fear of a repeat Moi's kind of leadership, which was actually in some part very much kind of a dictatorship. So we've looked at those fears that people have generally of William Samoei Ruto. What are your fears of William Samoei Ruto? Of course, like I said when I started, I'm going to talk about fears of both candidates. I'm going to talk about the likes, what people like about both candidates. And I'm going to talk about generally what people expect at a later date. Thank you very much for tuning in to Talk to Africa. Again, my name is George. Thank you for watching.